What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ, Bucky here. In week 2 of the NFL season, Buck, we're going to narrow in on some matchups we're looking forward to. We're going to be very specific, though. We're talking wide receivers versus corners.
Everyone loves to see the playmakers go against the shutdown corners. Marquee matchups will really help us determine the pecking order of who's the best at these respective positions.
Yeah, we are always constantly ranking, top receivers, top corners. I love it when we get to see them match up against one another. And this week we've got 3 that I want to focus on, Buck. The first of which involves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing against the Arizona Cardinals. And with the Bucs, you have a wide receiver in Mike Evans who is big and physical, but he's going to match up against maybe the best cornerback in all of football in Patrick Peterson. Now, Mike Evans, the thing I love about him, Buck, is the size. And that's something we always pointed out when he was at Texas A&M and Johnny Manziel was throwing it up to him and let him go get it. Now you're seeing Jameis Winston do that. In the scouting term, we use his tall ball, especially when you got a tall quarterback like Winston. You play over the top of defenders, and he can go up and get it as well as anybody. The challenge is this week you're going to go up against a big-time corner in Patrick Peterson who can play that tall ball. And we like to steal some phrases, Buck, from another sport. Patrick Peterson can play above the rim. Absolutely. He can go up and get it, and the size of the wide receiver, that advantage, it disappears.
It does disappear. He does a great job of taking on bigger guys. He's going to try and get his hands into Mike Evans' chest, slow him down a little bit, and then use his athleticism and his ball skills to come up with a couple of game-changing plays.
All right, these are 2 big-time players, Buck, but then we've got a rematch of sorts that we saw in the playoffs last year between Kansas City and Houston with another great matchup.
DeAndre Hopkins versus Marcus Peters. And when you look at this matchup, it's very compelling, much like the one that you talked about. DeAndre Hopkins is a guy who has a basketball background, a guy who does a great job of high-pointing the ball. You talk about playing above the rim and all those other things. He has that special ability to do that. Crafty wide receiver here. We seen their first matchup a year ago. Look, fade ball, nice and high. Go get it at the highest point. Come down with it. That's great coverage by Marcus Peters. But DeAndre Hopkins does a great job of snatching it off the square, as we say in basketball. Great job of high pointing. But when you deal with Marcus Peters, what you have to worry about is his instincts, his awareness, his vision. Little bail coverage allows him to keep vision on the quarterback, reads the route. He is making the break before the ball is even out the quarterback's hands. His instincts and awareness are one of the reasons why he's been able to get his hands on so many balls. It will be interesting to see who is able to win this matchup. 2 Pro Bowl type players, 2 guys who have outstanding strengths in terms of how they play the game. Who is able to dictate the terms that ultimately be the winner on the edge.
All right, Buck, the next matchup I'm really looking forward to, and I'm kind of cheating here because there's a couple of them. There's the Colts wide receivers going up against the Denver Broncos secondary, and there's 2 matchups within this game. You look at Dante Moncrief and Aqib Talib squaring off, and you got T.Y. Hilton going up against Chris Harris. Now, we start with Moncrief, and look, this is somebody that our Reggie Wayne loves. He thinks he's going to have a huge year, start off great last week. But what I love about his game, Buck, is the physicality that he brings to the table. We talk about the physicality, that moment of truth, that when the ball is up in the air, it's my ball, and I can play that box-out brand of football. That's what you get with the Dante Moncrief. You better get your hands on him and try and wrestle him. If not, his size, he's going to overpower you down the field. And we talk about Aqib Talib. That's the game he likes to play as well. So you've got a real example here of strength versus strength.
Absolutely big body players on the perimeter. Aqib Talib doesn't mind challenging big guys. He can play off. He can play press. He's going to make Dante Moncrief work, and he's hoping that he can get an interception off a tip or an overthrow to make a play.
Yeah, you see there, that's Calvin Johnson, big wide receiver, and he goes up and plays the ball at the highest point. That's what he's going to have to do in this game as well against the Dante Moncrief. But then you flip it over to the other side of the field, and you've got T.Y. Hilton, who's a little undersized but is dynamic and is explosive. He's going to try and win at the line of scrimmage with his quickness, and then he's going to make plays down the field. You see the separation that he's able to create, Buck. That quickness that he possesses is going to be a big challenge for anybody, and it's going to be a big challenge for Chris Harris this week.
Absolutely. Chris Harris, one of the best cornerbacks in the league, but he has his work cut out for him this week against T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton has some craftiness to him at the line of scrimmage, also has the speed to take the top off the defense. Chris Harris is going to have to get snug in his coverage. They may use a helper somewhere in the middle of the field, a cutter, to give him some help. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a mano-a-mano matchup. He's going to have to win so the Broncos don't have to get out of what they normally like to do in the back end.
I'm anxious to see if they play him in off like this where he can kind of drive on the football. And that's where he can see things, get your foot in the ground, use your quickness to match up with T.Y. Hilton's quickness. That's going to be a fascinating game, and what takes place on the perimeter could end up deciding it, Buck. Although maybe the marquee matchup of all these wide receivers corners this week is going to take place in the NFC East.
Absolutely. Dez Bryant versus Josh Norman. This is a compelling matchup. The NFC East is loaded with wide receivers. The Washington Redskins made Josh Norman a $15 million man because they thought he could lock him up. What he's facing, Dez Bryant is one of the best trackers of the football that I've seen in terms of his ability to adjust to the ball where the ball is in flight is unparalleled. Here we see a little double move, ball is thrown out. Watch him lay out and make that catch. Not only can he extend and have the length to bring it in, it's the wherewithal to be able to make sure that he stays in bounds. He is going to challenge Josh Norman in that way. And Josh Norman, I believe you really get a junkyard dog on the perimeter, someone who is scrappy, someone who will always compete. It is not a pretty display of technique, but what he does is he competes like no other. He's feisty. He is going to make Dez Bryant work, and then he may do some tactics to get up under his skin. This is going to be a backyard brawl. I'm looking forward to seeing how Dez Bryant and Josh Norman square up.
Well, I just want to know one question. Does Josh Norman need to bring his passport? Is he going to travel this week, Buck?
I mean, I think he has to travel this week. I think this is a better matchup for him to travel. Big bodies, he typically plays better against Julio Jones, Dez Bryant. He played well against Demaryius Thomas in the Super Bowl. I think when you look at the previous game against Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh, I don't think it's a great matchup in terms of having him deal with quickness. This is probably a better matchup for him to travel this week.
You know who'd be a big fan of that?
Who would?
Bashad Breeland. Little help. That's all he's looking for here. All right, that's going to do it for us here. Remember, you can check out all of our videos at NFL.com/MTSvideo as well as on YouTube. And leave your comments below if we've missed a great matchup that you're looking forward to. Let us know what it is.